Welcome to the podcast From Heartache to Healing and Hope. Season 2, Weathering the Storm, Cultivating Kindness. And I'm your host, Bernadette Winters-Bell. Welcome to my podcast, From Heartache to Healing and Hope. And I'm Bernadette Winters-Bell, your host. And wait till you see who I have a guest for us today. This is Joanne von Swirling. And I hope that I'm pronouncing your name right, Joanne. Did I do a fair job with that?
Oh, almost, but nobody's ever gotten it correctly. It's von Zwehl.
Von Zwehl. Ooh.
Von Zwehl.
Sounds historical and maybe a little royal. Very nice. Wonderful. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You know, of the two of us, I'm going to guesstimate that you know yourself better than I do. So would you be so kind as to introduce yourself to my audience?
Yes, I'm Joanne von Zwehl. I live in Long Island, New York. I have 3 children, one who passed last year. And I'm an artist. I do portraits, I do religious work, and I run the Rosa Foundation of America in upstate New York.
Beautiful, beautiful.
The short biography.
I love it. And I love the setting where you are. You have so much natural light coming in.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I live on the water here. So I in Centerport. So it's just
you're up on the North Shore. Beautiful.
Yes, yeah, it's beautiful. I wake up every day and I look out and see the water. And now I'm actually looking at the birds. Mm-hmm. When I moved in here, someone said, "Oh, you're gonna love the birds." And I thought, "Oh, he's crazy." And then I'll be on a meeting.
The birds, I'm busy.
Right? Oh my goodness, where's the other swan? And where's this?
The water can be so restorative, looking
yes.
at it and keeping us calm or getting us calm, that's
I feel that way.
Lovely. Wonderful. So you do paintings? Is that the kind of artistry that you do?
Yes, I do oil paintings and portraits. And I have a lot of well-known clients, and I've done work, actually the religious work, all over the world. So that's what I do for a living. And originally I was a business major and was in finance and foreclosures. And when I adopted my children, I said, I just cannot do what I'm doing and be a mother. It wouldn't be possible. So I always wanted to be an artist. And my father said, "No, you will never be an artist," because I don't want to support. I was one of 6. He didn't want to support any of us, and I don't blame him. So I got into business. I did semi-well, and I was able to switch careers later in life and started oil painting. And I always wanted to do it, so I kind of had a knack for it. So now I do mostly families, individual portraits, dogs, horses.
Love it.
And then I do, which I'm the most well-known for, religious paintings.
So do you do that in churches around the world? Where is it you do that
So
work?
I do, usually I'll get commissioned. They'll have something that they need, and
Right.
I'll get commissioned to do a painting. A lot of times they let me do what I like because they know my work.
Right.
And it's beautiful. It's like sometimes I'll do book covers and other things, and I'll read the book and I'll pray about it and think, okay, what am I really feeling from this?
Right.
And most of my clients, within reason, they let me do what I feel inspired by the Holy Spirit to do.
Beautiful.
So I
Well,
love
if they
it.
can look at your work and have a sense of your aesthetic, you want to, I would anyway, want to trust the artist and not micromanage them.
Right.
Say, "I love your work. Now, here's what I want." Wow. And is this in watercolors or oils?
All oils. I only work in oils. And then I do a lot of reproductions. I just did one for a church in Iowa that they were reproducing 10-foot copies of one of my paintings. So, so I love the oils because it gives you time to work with them, and the colors are so much richer and
Yeah,
finer.
they're very saturated in the oil,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh,
So
that as you're describing it, I'm thinking of doing religious paintings to begin with, and then in the oils, that particular medium.
right.
And it has such a spiritual sense to it, it feels to me, that
Yes.
to do that work. It's art, it's work, but there's another piece to it there I'm hearing from you.
Yeah. The well, with the spiritual too, a lot of times people come up to me and they'll see a painting, and I like to do paintings that don't tell the whole story. So if you look at them, they look, it's fine art, it's very
Right.
specific. Um, but I like to leave something mysterious that people can piece together their own imagination, or have. What you don't ever want as an artist, you don't want somebody to look at your work and not be moved by it, and
Right.
hopefully be moved in a good way.
Exactly.
Not a bad way, but though it does happen. But you art should evoke something. It should evoke emotions, even if it's just a portrait of a mother and a daughter. Like, you want to be able to see yourself in there or relate to something to there. And one of the most famous paintings, it was a series that I ever did, is I did the life of Christ in his feet. So they're they're like 3 feet by 3 feet. There's 6 paintings, but it's only the feet. So it was amazing first that everybody were drawn to it, because at first I was like, oh my goodness, I hope they don't think I'm crazy. But if you do, like, one of them is a crucifixion, so you just see the feet and the nail there, and it lets you put all the other pieces together.
Love it.
So if we see something that we're used to seeing, we get desensitized toward it. But if we see a piece of something sometimes,
I love it.
then you jump into the painting
That's right.
and bring your own story to life in the painting.
I love it. As you're talking, I'm thinking about when they stage homes, and um, like I'm looking in your beautiful home now with the light coming in, but I'm not seeing art, so people can picture themselves in it because it doesn't, from this angle,
Right.
have it personalized. And that's what people want to do, whether it's a book or a painting or a home or anything that we want to connect with, or an
Right.
artist wants us to connect with. I love that. Was one of the paintings you did of him in sandals?
Well, I did the Blessed Mother's arms, hands holding baby Jesus. And then I did just Jesus and Joseph, their feet, but there's just their toes are touching with the bare feet. And the next one is walking on water. Then
Mm.
it goes to the crucifixion. Then the resurrection, I just did the cave and the footprints. And
Ah,
then for the ascension, I did the feet rising up to heaven with the Holy Spirit, like you see way in the background. But for me too, it's a life story. So like, we're born and everything's beautiful and there's nothing that can go wrong. And then we build relationships, like the one that's a father and son. So it's Jesus and Joseph, but we all build relationships. And the next thing, you're walking on water. You just got a new job, or you just got married, grandchildren or children, and
right.
life is fantastic. The next one, because they go in a row, is a crucifixion. So life doesn't always stay here.
That's right.
It's the lows and the highs. So after the crucifixion and the falling, of what happens our life, or the tragedies, because life can never be without tragedy.
That's right.
So then you just see the footprints coming out of the cave. So we're coming out of this tragedy. We're not the same. We don't come out of that tragedy the same. Hopefully, if we turn it into a benefit, we're coming out better. And then the last one is the ascension, which connotates hope. So we can never lose hope. If we lose hope, we're lost.
Maybe I should commission you to do some paintings. The description of the work that I do. It's life, loss, and grief, and the gifts of the dying, and the gifts of the grieving, and the gifts of the pandemic, and all these things.
Right,
Because we are given the opportunity or forced to learn things that we wouldn't
right,
learn otherwise.
right.
So what you're saying is a beautiful way to express um, what I've been sharing with people for a very long time. I can picture the paintings, probably not as beautiful as they are, but you allow us to imagine the story,
Yes,
I
thank
love
you. And forced is a great word, because I don't think any of us like change. I mean, if we had our druthers, we'd wake up every day and everything would be roses.
right.
So change is usually, except for some extraordinary people, mostly change, sometimes comes upon us with force.
Well, and I have said for years, change is good, change is hard. And if we didn't have the changes forced upon us, we
Right,
wouldn't learn those things. Because as I've said many times, and actually in a former podcast, we don't learn these really profound lessons sitting on a beach with a Mai Tai. And if
right.
we did, right, right.
You might learn some other lessons, but you might not want to take them with you.
Yeah, exactly. Those aren't the profound ones. Absolutely, absolutely. So speaking of profound lessons, you mentioned your child that passed. I can only imagine that kind of situation and what you learned from that you didn't want to learn, but
Right,
did, you know?
right. Before I mentioned that, my mother had passed a few months before, and it just so happens today, and I didn't realize that when we scheduled this, is the 1 year anniversary of her passing.
Of
So I think
moms.
that, yes, yep, it's today of all days. So a
And
God
mom,
incident.
wonderful. What is mom's first name?
Noreen,
Nor,
Noreen, a nice Irish woman.
of course, of course. Noreen, thank you for this. I appreciate
Yes,
it.
thank you, Mom.
Right, right.
Um,
Wonderful.
but then a few months later, I lost my daughter, and it was like you always experience loss, but you think, and I'm a person that empathizes with people. They say a loss, I think, oh my goodness, and everything else. But until you go through such a tragedy, you can't imagine the pain. And one of the books I read, which was great, says, I just want somebody to jump in my body for 2 minutes
Right.
so they know how I feel, because people are lovely and they want to help out, but they don't know. And you don't really, even when you want to, even when I've had friends with situations, you feel you're empathizing, but the pain is really great.
The truth is that you don't know till you know.
Right.
And you can only empathize and be in their shoes as much as you can, having not experienced that.
Right. Right.
You can
Exactly.
do what you want, um, and but you don't know.
You don't
And
know.
also, our lives as friends or family of someone that has experienced a profound loss, their lives go on.
Right.
And you might feel like, oh no, I don't want the world to go on. This has to stop because
Right.
this is what I've
Yeah.
experienced. And so when someone shares that they're pre-pandemic, getting ready to go out to dinner with friends or to the movie and stuff, like, really?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing that for? Don't you know my daughter died? Right, right,
Right. Right. Yeah. It's difficult because and people mean well, but some of them say worse things.
right,
Trying to be
right.
helpful,
Trying to be
and
helpful. Yeah. And have we spoken about, some people say things that are considered appropriate but are stupid.
right. Right. I think I, you know, nobody will know that I know what this, you don't wish it anybody to know. So anyway, the film, with the best thing sometimes is to show up. It's it's just be there. If somebody has a tragedy or, no matter what degree it is, sometimes you just need to be there. And sometimes you can't even say, like, what do you say? And
Well,
sometimes it's okay to say, I
I
got
don't know what to say, but I'm here.
right,
We don't really live in a culture that does well with just being here.
right.
People say, oh, okay, but what can I do? And they mean do. Do you want me to go to the store for you? Do you want me to fluff your pillows? Do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do this? And that they get. But just to be present with someone
Right.
is a hard thing that I don't think we see a lot of examples of. And you're
Yeah.
right, when you're walking with a grieving person on that journey, they don't need someone to say, well, when God closes a door, he opens another window, or this or that or the other. Just be there,
Right.
allow them to talk or cry or not say anything and walk. Just be there. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a
Yeah.
pretty
Because I don't know
good.
where someone's at, and and people are wonderful and they mean the best, but
That's
some
right.
tragedies are so tragic. You don't
Absolutely.
ever think that. It's somewhere else I read that. After this happened, I read a lot of books because I had to get my grounding again. And
Yes.
it said when an old person dies, you mourn the past. When a young person dies, you mourn the future.
That will not be.
Right,
Right.
right. So
Absolutely. So it's different.
you're thinking all the things that we have planned and everything, it just it's almost not believable to yourself. It takes
That's
such a long time and it comes in such different stages. And for me, I'm lucky. I'm a very faithful person. And people were like, "Oh, did you lose your faith over this?" And I'm like, "No, I had nowhere else to go." that was that was my only anchor. It was like I didn't have
Well,
a
that's
choice.
it. You hang on to what you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, like okay, I'm not losing
Absolutely.
that.
Right. Right. I was just going to say that from listening to you, I can tell that your faith held you aloft
Right,
and
right.
didn't sink.
Yes,
And being grounded is one of the only things that will keep us able to move along or stay steady, whatever's needed at
yes.
the time. Wow.
And you know what? Something else was really great for me is listening. Like you have a show about this, and it was listening to podcasts or shows or something like that too, where there's other people that walked your walk already.
Right.
And it's so beautiful that people come out and they do that. I know for me, like one was Kay Warren,
Hmm.
and I just kept listening to her and she was saying like I tried everything, I did everything. And so you feel like, okay, wait a minute, I'm not alone, and
That's
here's somebody else. So when people take tragedies and they talk about them, it really helps people, especially those people that are right in the beginning when it's so raw.
absolutely that they know, first of all, someone's walked that walk before, not exactly the same because we're all different,
Right.
but someone's been through a tragedy and has come out and they're still alive. They're still talking. They got up and got dressed and had breakfast.
Yeah,
That gives you hope for your future.
exactly.
Yeah,
And also too, if I ever knew this was going to happen to me, I didn't think I would be okay.
right,
You
right,
don't think I thought, oh, okay, like I pray, okay, God, anything but that,
right, right.
and
Well,
we,
that's why when people say, I don't know how you do it, and what they're saying is, I can't imagine that I could get through it.
right,
And you might be thinking, you don't know how I got through it? I got up every day and tried to put one foot in front of the other.
right.
When they wouldn't move, I said, God, what do you think? Can we move these feet along? Right. It's almost like you feel like you had no choice. You decided not to stay in bed and pull the covers over your head.
Right. And you know what? Now that you're saying that, kind of goes back to what I was saying before about the feet painting. And the
Hmm.
reason I had came up with that, I was reading the book and I thought about in the life of Christ, he was that you got to put one, he was always moving.
Right.
He was moving the feet. And I think in life, is if we don't put one foot in front of the other,
Right.
we're gonna be stuck where we are. And we with the feet, you have to keep moving. You got to keep going on. And not every day. Some days, like, you feel like a cat that's hanging on by its claws, for dear life. But that day it's okay, maybe, to little baby steps.
Exactly.
Yeah,
What I say is some days we get up, get dressed, go out, conquer the world.
right.
And other days, PJs and peanut butter and jelly
Yeah.
sandwich. And biggest decision you can make is should it be creamy or crunchy? Great. But that's the day that I think of your soul, your spirit being low in resources and you're
Right,
filling the bucket so
right,
that you can have another day to go out and use those
right.
resources. So it's always the balance,
The
you
tank
know?
is running on empty.
Well, for sure, for sure. Wow. So the organization that you mentioned earlier that you've done a lot of work with, can you tell us about that?
Yes, it's the Rosa Foundation,
Mhm.
and it's my family had we had a charity where we used to build churches in third world countries and
Mm,
work with only the poor. And when I mean churches, I don't mean cathedrals too. Like it would be like an African village, and they would have an altar, and the rainstorm would come, and the altar would be gone. So we were doing that all around the world, and
giving them roofs for their altar.
yeah, yeah, and we did some orphanages, little hospital, wells and villages, where everybody was dying because they didn't have wells.
Mm.
And somebody got us involved in this project upstate, and it was an abandoned church. And they had plans where the foundation was going to come in and they were going to fix it up and they were going to do the work. So we kind of said yes, even though we didn't do anything in America.
Hmm.
And that kind of backfired on us, where they came back and now was ours. So we said, okay, we don't do this. We're not running, this place upstate. Let's give it away. So we tried to give it away, and we were giving it to a priest for his organization. And the day that we tried, he had had a stroke.
Ugh.
So he was okay actually the next day. But so then a few other things happened, and then somebody was with my mother, and they had prayed together, and basically it was like, you know what, America's in trouble now. America needs hope. America needs God. That this is your mission now. So we stopped working all around the world, except for we still educate seminarians, in third world countries. And we got involved in this project, and we built it up. But it's an unbelievable place. It came about from a nun in Italy that the Blessed Mother was appearing to
Mm.
as Rosa Mystica, and she had given numbers to her one day, and she didn't know what the numbers were, and she was telling you need a house of refuge. So they finally figured out that it was latitude and longitude from Italy to upstate New York in Edmonston, which is a very rural area.
I know it
And
well. Yes.
and then and it ended up being on Angel Hill Road also. Not for any angels, because the gentleman that originally had all the land was Mr. Angel. So the nun had come, she did prayer, fasting, and adoration for a few weeks to decide if this is what the Blessed Mother wanted, to build this chapel. And she decided yes. These monks came from Canada and they built it, and miraculous things were happening there, but the winters were really tough. It got abandoned, and that's where we came in. So now we do retreats, and almost every weekend. We do different groups. Everything is, we're a Catholic shrine open to all faiths too, so we welcome all. And it's really been an incredible experience, and people now are coming from all over the place because they come there and they don't leave the same. So it's been called like the Medjugorje of United States, that we're getting all these conversions and vocations, lots of vocations from there, and healings, and people going back to confession, and then bringing that faith back home with them too, and building up other people. And for me, faith is joy. So it's almost a little selfish sometimes with faith because I feel like I follow it so much because I get the joy. And so we try to build that up on the people and let them know how that is, and how, if you have the faith, um, then then it's not all about me and everything I want and everything I think and everything else. It's something about something better and more important. It takes a lot of pressure off you.
So it's interesting, when you look at life as that there's something bigger than me, whether you call it God or Jesus or Buddha or universe or whatever
Right.
term, there's something bigger, I believe, also than just us little guys.
Yes.
And that not only does it take the pressure off because I don't have to have all the answers,
Yes.
right? Um, but that you're not in it alone. And so that can give people, and to say that faith is joy is beautiful. And let me just, I don't know, correct is the right word. I'll add to something you said. You said that that makes it feel like selfish sometimes. So I don't have a good word that I think is positive version of selfish, but I've been looking a long time. But I think it's wonderful self-care to say,
Yeah.
let me hold on to the joy that this love, this faith gives me, and others can see that too. Because
Yeah.
you're right, that's what sustains us through so many things. Wow. Do they have one of your paintings there
Oh,
at
we
the
have lots of them.
Oh, good. I'm
Yeah,
feeling a field trip in my future. Okay.
okay, yes, yes, we have lots of the paintings there, and it's really beautiful. We have main chapel, an adoration chapel, a little God the Father, and we renovated the original little. It was actually like a little garage kind of that Mother Leonardi came and then that prayer fasting, and that's kind of one of my favorite places because you can feel the holiness there.
Oh, that kind of energy. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So what changed for you during the pandemic?
I'm a real social person too. So what I realized a little bit during the pandemic is how I was moving too quickly, and just to stop and take a breath and realize, like, what kind of crazy schedule is this, that you're leading, and not really a person that operates with fear. I think I got COVID when nobody knew what COVID was, and then I
Mhm.
did get it again, probably because I just, and I got sick, but I don't operate from fear, and I was lucky, that I think that what with my mother, what happened is before anybody knew what COVID is, I think that was what happened to her.
Right.
And and ultimately, it led to her passing. So I don't want to take it lightly either.
Right.
But I enjoyed working from home and not getting in the car, and I got to be here, I got to be there. And I didn't realize how crazy I was till I wasn't crazy.
Exactly. So many people, that balance that I was talking about before, when you're on the gerbil wheel,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
thinking that these is what I have to do. I have to go to the
yeah,
store and go do this and then call this one.
yeah,
Right. And when you sit and relax, okay, what do I have to do now? Relaxing is like a nanosecond, right?
right.
And when you have minutes, hours, days, months to just say, oh, maybe that wasn't so good for my spirit, right? And to see what else, and to be, like we talked about before. We don't always have to be doing to be successful or to be accomplishing things. We can just be, whether it's being with a person or just being
Right.
like this, because isn't that when meditation or deep breathing or prayer works
Come in,
best,
yeah.
you know?
Right. Right. And not that you have to get up in the morning and be like, I got to go, I got to be here. And even just the gym, like I was a person that tried to squeeze the gym in. And like, then I did like little class online, that it was, instead of an hour, 20 minutes. I'm like, I like this so much better. And then I have to get there, leave, and just like, and fit all this stuff in. And, I miss the socialization,
Absolutely.
so after a little while, like, this is great. I'm like, okay, enough's enough. Because I'm thinking, okay, we could do this for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So it did go on a little longer than anybody was planning. And I miss the, going out and seeing people and, just the action, when.
Absolutely. And now that it's opening up a bit in different ways in different places, but still we're like, how much into it do I want to get? I want some socialization, that
Right.
balance,
Yes.
be able to go out, but yet come home and have that solace that the
Yeah.
silence can bring, you know?
Right. You don't have to go out as much, or,
Right.
it's, I took a trip down to Florida a month or two ago, but it was before we opened up in New York, and it was wide open, and I'm like, people lines, like, this is great.
Right. It's
Like, who
interesting.
would ever think you'd miss a line,
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
"Hey,"
Exactly.
except for the only line we were getting is the food store.
Yeah, exactly. So, of all the things you've talked about, and so interesting, what gives you hope for the future?
Um, I feel like, uh, that, I mean, for me,
Mhm,
being a Catholic too, it's our hope is our eternal life.
mhm,
And when this happened, I thought myself a very good Catholic, and I realized, you know what, I was really on the fence.
mm.
I was okay. I'm good, God, as long as you don't do A, B, and C, I'll do
If he
this.
follows the rules, you're good.
Yeah, yeah. So this gives me, it inspires me to do better,
Mm,
so that I can go to heaven and be with my daughter. It, um, and I think too that just to, because I miss her so much, but it inspires me to also, I think about before this happened, my prayers, they were always for my children, of course, first, and my family and everything else. But a lot of them were shallow, like things that I thought were just so important. It's a little bit of freeing, where the worst thing that could ever happen to you happened. So you're you're like, I'm not so afraid of something bad happening, because
it
I
already,
know I can live through it.
that's
And I
right.
never thought I'd be able to.
It already happened and you've lived through it. So it's not that you don't fear anything, but it has a different gravitas to it
Right,
than it had in the past. Well,
right.
in thinking about getting ready for our talk today, I decided I would wear jewelry I just recently purchased for my birthday to honor it, but I wanted to honor you with
Aw.
butterflies.
Oh, I love butterflies. It
Butterflies,
makes you think of those past, right?
right? And the abalone, the changing colors,
Yes,
gems, but that it has such, the sterling silver gives it, or the pearls give it that grounding, and yet it has flight and
right.
independence, and then connected. So I wore these for you and for you to
Oh, thank you, thank you. And
absolutely,
that's a beautiful analogy too. Be grounded
absolutely.
and had flight though too at the same time.
The balance.
The
That'll be my
balance.
trademark, I think. Like a magic trick or balancing balls. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on my podcast, From Heartache to Healing and Hope. You've been an inspirational guest today, and I can't wait for people to know and to hear your story from it. And we'll make sure that we put up information, both about your paintings, and the beautiful church that's there and everything, so that people
Thank
can avail themselves of it. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being this
thank
really
you.
special gift today.
Thank you.